All right. I think. Let's see. Yep. There it goes. Might as well phase this down here. Here we go. All right. I'm about ready as I'm ever going to be to get going here for tonight. Nothing really planned. It has been one of those weekends that I thought I would have some free time, and then I didn't have as much free time as I thought I would. I'm just now catching up with some stuff, and let's see. Nothing really planned for tonight. Maybe just some chatting about comic book characters and going over a couple of articles I've come across recently. Some characters that the MCU still can't touch. A little bit of news on a Terminator project of all things, and revisiting an old sci-fi movie that isn't a Disney movie. Let's see, where do I want to go? I'm looking at this, I'm looking at that, I'm looking at this over here. Might as well get right into it by, what am I looking at here? I'm looking at this Collider.com article. Which Marvel characters can the MCU still not use? Thought this was kind of interesting, so I'm going to be sharing this tonight. Let me enlarge this a little bit more. Here we go. Of course, we'll get a nice image of old school ROM Space Knight. That's gone way back. The big picture as the article starts here. The MCU faces hurdles partnering with Sony and Universal for rights to characters like Spider-Man, Hulk, and Namor. Yeah, that's the big rub, is mainly rights issues because the Disney Marvel does not own the rights to certain characters. They've had to learn over the years how to play nice with others. For a little drink here. There we go. Mainly, I think the biggest hurdle they've had has been dealing with Spider-Man and working with Sony, because Spider-Man is a pretty big character, and Marvel has been wanting to deal with Spider-Man more and more, but let's face it, that's been a big obstacle for Marvel to overcome. Let's see. As the article goes on, not all Marvel characters have joined the MCU due to complicated rights issues, like Conan the Barbarian and ROM Space Knight. Some Marvel characters, such as NFL Super Pro and Almighty Dollar, are unlikely to appear in the MCU due to lackluster appeal. Yeah, talk about lackluster. I know who NFL Super Pro is. I don't believe I've ever heard of Almighty Dollar, but yeah, that's neither here nor there. Let's see. This article starts off with Deadpool and Wolverine has an embarrassment of riches when it comes to Marvel characters, several of whom, including Wolverine himself, have never graced an MCU film. There are characters that appear in films that predate the MCU, like Jennifer Garner's Elektra from 2003's Daredevil and her own film, and Wesley Snipes from the Blade franchise. Yeah, those are pretty good movies compared to the current crop of MCU films. I mean, given what's out there now, I actually didn't mind Elektra, having a look back at it, but yeah, it was pretty rough at the time. But in comparison, it's almost gold. And of course, a Blade franchise with Wesley Snipes, that's pure gold right there. Then there are Marvel characters that have never been depicted on film at all, including the film's big bad Cassandra Nova, Lady Deadpool. That's interesting. And Gambit, which finally realizes Channing Tatum's attachment to the hero on film after years of failed attempts for his own feature. And the Fantastic Four First Step slated for release in July of 2025. So yeah, we have a whole year to go until we get this this version of Fantastic Four out there, whether we want it or not. Surely the MCU has every Marvel character ever imagined in-house by now, right? Sorry, but not quite. Some Marvel characters remain elusive and may never join the MCU at all, which honestly is probably a good thing because some characters I wouldn't want the MCU to touch, or the current iteration of MCU under Disney. Let's see here. As this article continues on, the MCU still has to play nice with Sony and Universal. It's no secret at this point that the movie rights to Spider-Man and his assortment of friends, family, and foes are property of Sony. And that's probably a good thing because I don't believe Sony will ever let go of Spider-Man, nor should they. And that's probably a good little good thing for them because I couldn't imagine what the MCU under Disney would do to Spider-Man. The web slinger exists in the MCU on the strength of a mutually beneficial deal between the studios. Of course, the original deal, which saw Tom Holland's Spider-Man first enter the MCU and Captain America Civil War, was reached in February 2015. Gone on 9 years now, come to think of it. Saw Holland as the character in 2 MCU films, Spider-Man Homecoming and Far From Home. But a standoff between Disney and Sony in August 2019 threatened to unravel the web. Actually, Far From Home was okay. Homecoming was okay. No Way Home I didn't particularly care for. It's their take on Spider-Man, I think, has been bugging me for some time. I'd still like to see a decent comic book accurate interpretation of Peter Parker Spider-Man who isn't a lackey or side character to Tony Stark Iron Man, because that got pretty old pretty quick. And of course, this article mentions Morbius and Madam Web, 2 films here that I have yet to sit down and watch. I may or may not get around to that, but yeah, Morbius, Madam Web, meh. But of course, I may watch these a lot sooner than, say, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, which I still haven't sit down and watched. Let's see, what else is this article? Oh, yeah, here we go. The ones I can't get into because of rights issues is Rom, Space Knight, and Conan the Barbarian. That's a good thing because I can't imagine the damage the current MCU could do to Conan. Flipping through the little slide. Oh, Transformers. There's NFL Super Pro. So yeah. Let's see. As for Marvel characters that Disney does not have the film rights to, they are, for the most part, a largely unspectacular group. But that doesn't mean there aren't some notables here. At the top of that list is Conan the Barbarian, who was in Marvel Comics for a number of years, initially from 1970 to 1993. and then again from 2018 to 2022. When the publishing rights were then sold to Titan Comics. Having appeared in Marvel Comics with the likes of Wolverine and Elektra in Savage Avengers, Conan would seem to be a logical shoe-in for the MCU, but it's those darn movie rights, as confirmed by Schwarzenegger himself. Those film rights are owned by Frederick Malmberg and Cabinet Entertainment. Honestly, that's a good thing, because I'm not liking the trajectory of the MCU right now, the direction they're going. So it's probably a good thing that they can't touch Conan. Now, whatever future the Conan has, whether on the big screen or a small screen, that's anybody's guess. I haven't looked them up to see what's going on with the character. I think there was something years ago about a possible Amazon production for a Conan TV show, but that was killed off rather quickly. Let's see. Stock Savage, Man of Bronze. That actually is a pretty notable character. I wouldn't describe Doc Savage as an unspectacular character like this article goes on. Now, does he belong in the MCU? He was published by Marvel, but honestly, I wouldn't want to see him in the MCU. So Conan, Dark Savage, Transformers, a former Marvel property. Probably a good thing that somebody else has the publishing rights to Transformers. And there's is, of course, NFL Super Pro, which will probably never see the light of day. Let's see, as the article continues on, I kind of got a kick from this, because there are some characters I would love to see live action, just not under the MCU. Rom is one of them. Rom was a childhood favorite of mine from way back when. Let's see. Rom is another well-loved Marvel Comics property with the one-time Hasbro toy recently returning to the publisher in 2023 after its original run between 1979 and 1986. And I'm still trying to fill in the gaps in my little Rom Space Knight comic book collection. But, as the article continues, like Namor and the Hulk, Rom's film rights are complicated. Being first and foremost a Hasbro toy, Rom is part of the partnership between Hasbro and Paramount Pictures for film, with Zach Penn once pegged to write a script. But as James Gunn explained to Screen Rant, Rom stories are owned by Marvel Comics, while the character and toys are owned by Paramount, which creates a paradox where the Space Knights are not available to Marvel Comics, and Paramount can't have access to any of the Space Knight stories, meaning the deep history created in the comic books can't be explored on screen. And that is kind of crazy, because I do remember the Rom comic books. Those are some pretty good stories from way back in the day. It is kind of unfortunate that the rights issues would keep those from being adapted. Now, as far as adapting them for a major movie, like many things, I'm in the belief that the small screen would be a better place for these characters than a series of big budget live action movie adaptations. Let's see. Oh, this article also continues. The partnership, by the way, nixes any chance of other Hasbro toys that have been in the pages of Marvel Comics, including the Micronauts. That would be another good one to see adapted, but probably never happen. A good and proper G.I. Joe. And if they could ever do anything decent with Transformers, that would be amazing. Transformers, who will be on screen as a Paramount release in September of this year with Transformers 1, which I've heard a little bit about, but nothing to really get me excited. No, I don't care about large, overblown, budgeted, big screen adaptations. Give me something of good quality on TV, because you can really explore some of these storylines from the comic books and say 10, 20 episodes, 2 or 3, 4 seasons. Do it right, and you can get pretty far on it. Micronauts. I would love to see Micronauts adapted. Let's see. There are other reasons for Marvel characters not appearing in the MCU. Besides the rights issues, there are other reasons for Marvel characters not appearing in the MCU. Mainly because nobody cares about them, or they pretty much. There's a fact that the rest of them pretty much suck. 1990s superhero NFL Super Pro is one such character. Created in collaboration with the NFL, Super Pro never made a touchdown with the public, mainly because it was just seen as a gimmick. I don't know how many issues of the comic book there were. I have one, the first one, and as far as I know, it never went beyond that. I don't know. It could have had a small, decent run. Given the money involved, the NFL would perhaps consider allowing Marvel the rights, opening a door for Phil Grayfield in his indestructible football uniform to appear in the MCU, but the MCU can't work their magic on every Marvel character. Yeah. Some things you just don't need adapted. That was a pretty quick article. Let's see. There's another one I came across here. Okay, going to share this one. Also from Collider, 20 Marvel heroes we still need to see on the big and small screens. This looked like a pretty good list when I was breezing through it earlier. Even with over 60 live action films and TV series, it's amazing they've gotten that far, really. 60 live action films and TV series. That's kind of mind boggling to think about how much how far they've gone and what they have. Anyway, even with over 60 live action films and TV series based on Marvel characters available for public consumption, it's hard to believe how many heroes still haven't gotten their chance in the spotlight. Some of the most popular Marvel heroes still haven't appeared on the big or small screen outside of animated form. Again, this article touches on property rights. 20th Century Fox. So that mentions the X-Men universe, which someday we may get a decent X-Men film. Someday we may get a good comic book accurate Spider-Man film. Someday, I don't know when. Let's see. And unlike DC, that is more than okay with duplicating characters on the big and small screen, Marvel is creating one gigantic, interconnected universe. That means shows like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Daredevil can't create their own versions of known Avengers Avengers characters without fans assuming that that's the definitive Black Knight or Moon Knight. And less said about Moon Knight, honestly, the better, because that was a convoluted mess of a show. I sat through all of Moon Knight hoping it would get better, hoping at some point it would get better. But the first character they touch on is Nova. Nova was briefly teased, or just the Nova Corps, rather, was briefly teased in Guardians of the Galaxy, but we've never seen anything of Richard Rider here. Now, that might change depending on how far Marvel gets with their movies. Whatever, I keep forgetting what phase they're in. 5, 4, phase 5, phase 4, phase 6. I don't know. Honestly don't really care at the moment because it has been a huge mess. Phase 4 was a horrible mess. Phase 5 is off to a rocky start. I don't even know where they are. I haven't kept up with them. But anyway, I remember reading a lot of Nova in the 70s and 80s. I've forgotten lots of it, but yeah, it would be really fun to see these characters be accurately adapted in live action. Let's see. The lowdown, as this article continues. See, real identity, Richard Rider. Sure, the Nova Corps are alive and well in the Guardians of the Galaxy movie franchise, but the greatest Nova of them all, Richard Rider, hasn't stepped. What is this? Sometimes I come across errors like this. This is a poorly made sentence. What is this? Hasn't stepped HD his moment yet. Okay, who proofreads these articles? Oh, Collider, you're almost as bad as Screen Rant. Almost. Anyway, Ryder has an Avenger connection when as a one-time member and has saved the Marvel comic universe on his own more than once. In the chat, I see Tina the Naughty Dragon. Hello there. Good to see you here tonight as I just talk comic book characters and whatnot. Nothing really planned for tonight. I'm just going over some articles. Comic book characters, a new Terminator series, and then a animated movie that doesn't belong to Disney. Let's see. Yeah, that's pretty much Nova in a nutshell. He's a superhero comic book character, hasn't been adapted to the big or the small screen yet. Oh, when was this article? This article was 2016. So yeah, some of this is dated. They mentioned She-Hulk, and of course we had a very bad She-Hulk TV show, which I haven't wasted my time on. I have not watched one bit of that horrible She-Hulk series and probably never will. So no point in even going on about this. Well, I'll talk about this. She-Hulk. First appearance, Savage She-Hulk, #1, real identity, Jennifer Walters, one of Marvel's most powerful superheroes. Bruce Banner's cousin is a Hulk in control of her own body, though there's no Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde issue here. With keen intelligence and sharp wit. Best way to exploit the character by focusing on Walter's background as a defense lawyer. That's probably where they went wrong with it, by trying to steer away from the comic book exploits and go, oh, she's a defense lawyer, right? Let's just focus on that. But I don't know. What I know, I've never watched an episode of it. Tina the Naughty Dragon saying, y'all, what you watched She-Hulk, you only really enjoyed the first episode. I think I've heard other people say that as well. And it's like it was only good for one episode, and then it went downhill from there quickly. But that and quite a few other MCU TV shows, I just won't waste my time on. Let's see. Cable? Oh, Cable would be a good one to adapt. First appearance, New Mutants number 87 as Cable, 1990. If they did the character right, this would probably be a highly sought after comic book issue. Nathan Summers, his real name, the lowdown on it. The long grown son of Scott Summers and Madeline Pryor. Wait for it. A clone of Jean Grey. Oh, yes. Sometimes I forget how convoluted comic book character origins can be, especially when time travel is involved, because woof. Anyway, Cable was raised in the far future for his own protection, only to return to the present, a man seemingly older than his father and with combat abilities no one could have fathomed. He also was visibly battle-scarred with a robotic right arm. He's a character with sort of convoluted history. That's comic books for you. You get convoluted histories that give screenwriters headaches. But that tragic background has helped turn him into a fan favorite with more solo titles than his pop Cyclops has ever had. The question is, how do you introduce him into an established movie universe without a 10-minute long exposition explaining who he actually is? Okay, this is probably one of the biggest problems with these characters, trying to introduce them, trying to explore them without loads and loads of exposition. Especially when you have multiple decades of character history, you're just not, you shouldn't gloss all that over and introduce a character just willy-nilly. But that's kind of what they do. Oh, yes, Tina, the Naughty Dragon, is saying, like the Star Wars TV shows, I gave up on Marvel TV shows. Yeah, I've given up on Disney Star Wars and Disney MCU TV for some time ago. It's like, after the disappointment that was WandaVision and the really big disappointment that was Moon Knight, I just decided I wasn't going to waste my time with any of the other shows they had. Oh, I take that back. I did watch that Hawkeye TV show and kind of enjoyed it, but it was, it was take it or leave it. It was nothing special. I can't even remember what it was called. That's how memorable these shows are. Let's see. Going back to the article. Cable. I keep going back to the notion I have that these characters are best on the small screen. How are you going to introduce characters like Cable unless it's small screen? I mean, you're going to gloss over decades of comic book lore and history trying to cram in so much in a 2-hour movie, or 2 2-hour movies, or 3 2-hour movies. And then you have the expectation of people actually going to theaters and sitting down for 2.5 hours as you hit them over the head with exposition and whatnot about who a character is, why character is important, and oh yeah, this is what they've been doing for 20, 30 years. Oh, in the chat, I see West Kegel. Hello there. Say hi to Tina there. That's cool. Good to see you here. Hope things are going well. Again, I want to thank you guys for joining me tonight, whether you're live, lurking, or catching me on a replay. Thank you all so much for catching me on a Monday night. Nothing really planned tonight. I'm just going over comic book characters that may or may not ever get live action adaptations, or that did get live action adaptations and probably should have never had live action adaptations. Let's see. Moving right along. Marvel's Hercules. Oh, Journey into Mystery, annual number 1, 1965. So yeah, Hercules goes back a ways. Goes back quite a ways for Marvel. Let's see. Since Thor first debuted in 1962, Stan Lee made the Norse and Greek gods cornerstone of his Marvel comic book universe. The immortal son of Zeus and a mortal woman, Hercules had been a constant for Marvel in his own title and as a long-standing member of the Avengers. Oh, that's true. I had actually forgotten about that. Cable was in Deadpool 2. I don't know why. I just plain forgot about that. There's bits of Deadpool 2 that I didn't particularly care for. And I kind of just, when I think of Deadpool, I think of the first one. Then, oh yeah, I keep forgetting about the second one. And then here we are essentially with the third movie out, Wolverine and Deadpool. I don't know why I keep forgetting about Deadpool 2. It had its moments. It was good to see some characters in there, and then some characters they kind of missed the mark on, like Juggernaut. They had Juggernaut in there, which is pretty good, but they changed him in a way that wasn't comic book accurate. But I've given up on MCU ever following comic books too closely. So yeah, Marvel's Hercules. If we'll ever see him in a movie again. Wonder Man. Okay. The Avengers number 9, October 1964. So this character goes back a long, long ways back. Simon Williams, a member of Earth's mightiest heroes for almost 40 years. Wonder Man has always been one of those Marvel characters that really got the respect he deserves. Granted, his side career as a Hollywood movie star, I think Tom Cruise with less talent. Okay. The fact that he shares a wonder with a more well-known DC hero hasn't helped. Yeah. Especially when you're trying to make movies and TV shows for people who have never picked up a comic book. That could be quite confusing there for a lot of people. Let's see. And yet, as a man transformed into a being of complete iconic energy, whatever that means. Yeah. What does that mean? Oh, no. Anyway, he's arguably one of the most powerful heroes in the Marvel stable. He has also had a history of mental instability that screams good dramatic conflict in a team setting. With DC's Wonder Woman already one of 2017's most anticipated films, when Marvel simply look bad for trying to incorporate their own wonder into the MCU anytime soon. Maybe. I mean, they could probably pull it off in 2025, 2026 if they have a good script. There's so much Marvel needs to do to get to a point where they can start introducing some of these characters, like some of the X-Men characters. Aha. In the chat, I see Lemon Pie. Hello there, Lemon Pie. Good to see you there. Hope things are going well for you. Good to see you tonight. Let's see. Scrolling on down. Tigra. Giant Sized Creatures #1, July 1974. Let's see. Talk about a character with a crazy past, a one-time human heroine known as the Cat. Agreed to be transformed into a half-human, half-feline hybrid to save her life and be champion of the cat people, an ancient and secretive sect that for some reason lived in Baja California. It was early 70s. That was exotic back then. Okay, yeah. And off and on, again, member of the Avengers, Tigra has gone through many ups and downs, dealing with the cat side of her new form. It's worth noting, however, that she counts She-Hulk and Carol Danvers as good friends. Whether we'll see Tigra in the MCU, probably not. Let's see. Spectrum. One time known as Captain Marvel. Monica Rambeau. Okay. First appearance, The Amazing Spider-Man Annual number 16, 1982. A little bit more recent. Monica Rambeau. Yep. Everybody knows who she is. If any character needs to be introduced in the MCU sooner rather than later, it's Rambeau. Again, this article is, when is this article? This article is from 2016. So, yeah. Some of these characters have already been introduced. Tina saying the MCU has to do a lot of repair work to the reputation before people come back to theaters in droves again. Not counting one-offs like Deadpool 3. I agree. I haven't watched Deadpool 3 yet. I don't know if I will. There's some things about Deadpool 3 that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. I may go into those later in a future live stream. But yeah, it's a lot for one film. You're not going to win back a lot of disenfranchised fans with one film. Oh, Dead Man. Hello there. Good to see you tonight. Hope things are going well for you. Yeah. Expecting Deadpool 3 to right the wrongs. No, you're going to need a good series of films. Yeah, you need to go back to what worked in phase 1 and phase 2, because that was when the MCU was firing on all cylinders. That's when they were really doing it right. Oh boy, the next character. I kind of remember this from the early 80s. Dazzler and X-Men. Well, first off, you have to do a good introduction of the X-Men into the MCU. One that does the team justice. And I don't think that's going to happen, because we're already seeing what the MCU is going to do with Fantastic Four. If they if they really screw up a superhero team, an iconic superhero team like the Fantastic Four, I can't imagine how much they'll screw up the X-Men trying to introduce the X-Men into the MCU. Let's see. The Dazzler. Yeah, this is a little bit more recent. Uncanny X-Men number 130, February of 1980. Allison Blair, a mutant with the ability to turn sound into light and energy blasts. So yeah, that's kind of an unusual power set. Dazzler started off as a record company tie-in for Marvel at the end of the disco era. Yes, disco. We should just let the disco era die. Just let it go. Just let it go away. Our solo title lasted over 3 years through. Uh, let me try that again. Her solo title lasted over 3 years, though, and being a sometime member of the X-Men for 3 decades has provided her with a significant cult following. That is kind of crazy to think about. Again, the big hurdle here is getting the X-Men properly introduced into the MCU before we can tackle some of these oddball side characters like Dazzler and whatnot. If Dazzler's rights were controlled by Marvel, you could imagine a one-shot Marvel blah blah blah, a one-shot Netflix musical movie. I can't even imagine that right now. Maybe Netflix of old, maybe the same writing team that gave us Daredevil, Jessica Jones, The Punisher, Iron Fist. Yeah, that Netflix writing team. If that Netflix writing team was still around and you told them, hey, do something with Dazzler, that might be interesting. But yeah, I don't know. Let's see. Does anyone trust 20th Century Fox, who has taken years to get Hugh Jackman's original musical? And the next X-Men movie could take place in the 90s. Maybe. It's anyone's guess at this point what the MCU is going to do or what they won't do. Yeah, no, I'm not letting go of the Bee Gees or ABBA. Okay, well, if it worked for you, it worked for you. Oh goodness. The closest I will get to disco is that one song Kiss did that has like disco beats to it. But other than that, yeah, not for everybody. But yeah, if it's your jam, that's cool. Moon Knight. Yeah, we've already had a horrible, horrible Moon Knight series. Very disappointing. I don't know that character very well in the comic books. Oh, Werewolf by Night, number 32, August of 1975. So he goes back a ways. He goes back to the mid 70s. Oh, speaking of something that was really good, that one shot Disney MCU Werewolf by Night. That was excellent. That was honestly too good to be Disney MCU. I watched Werewolf by Night and was kind of blown away. It's like, this can't be Disney. This is good. This is too good to be on Disney. This is too good to be Disney MCU. And sadly, it was just a one off. But anyway, Moon Knight, yeah, it came, it went. I thought it was stupid how they handled the character. Anyway, moving right along with this little article. Spider Woman. Not very familiar with Spider-Woman myself. Marvel Spotlight number 32, February of 1977. Real identity, Jessica Drew, the star of the legendary 70s animated Saturday morning TV show Spider-Woman, has a convoluted comic book origin. Again, if it's in comic books, it's probably going to be very, very convoluted. Well, that's par for the course with a comic book character and ever how many origins a writer decides to give them. Ah, Dad man saying I sang Staying Alive a couple of times. Ah, okay. Uh-huh. Karaoke nights, huh? Let's see. Going back to Spider-Woman here. The most important aspect of it, though, has been the fact that the notorious Hydra organization has been a thorn in her side for most of her life. That's kind of interesting. Drew has been an Avenger and an Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. She's been a super spy, a superhero, and most recently a private investigator. She has powers similar to Spider-Man. Yeah, I kind of figured that with the title Spider-Woman, but yeah. And she has the added bonus of Venom blasts that direct painful bioenergy at an adversary. Huh. She's become especially good friends with fellow Avenger Captain Marvel. That could work as long as Sony Pictures maintains control of the character. Because I'm guessing this is probably going to be under Sony. Because the Spider name has been long assumed. Sony Pictures has the rights to the character. But the deal for Marvel Studios to produce the next wave of Spider-Man films may have changed it. May have changed. Oh, again, Collider, you need a proofreader. Or you need somebody who can hit the right keys on the keyboard. Anyway, can Jessica Drew find a way to join Earth's mightiest heroes in the MCU? Is a Captain America or Captain Marvel debut in her future? Well, Captain America is not around anymore, and Captain Marvel probably won't be for too much longer. Anyway, Captain Britain. First appearance, Captain Britain, number 1, October 1976. Okay, that's not too terribly old, but not recent either. Brian Braddock. Bestowed with superpowers to protect the United Kingdom by none other than Merlin himself. Now, that's pretty impressive. Captain Britain is one of the more powerful heroes in the Marvel comic book universe, and in theory, would be the best choice to introduce an international hero into the big screen MCU. Obviously, the Black Panther and the fictional nation of Wakanda beat him to it, but we're talking real nations here. Captain Britain could arguably take down Captain America. He's got super strength and vulnerability and can fly. Okay, well, my money's still betting on old school Captain America, so yeah. Been part of the clandestine Avengers group known as the Secret Avengers, but has spent most of his time working for the British intelligence agency MI13 as a leader of the superhero group Excalibur. Yeah, I kind of remember some of that. Goodness. Captain Britain, Excalibur, British intelligence agency MI13, the Secret Avenger. Oh, that's bringing back some memories there. That's going back way back. Braddock's sister Betsy is a mutant whose rights 20th Century Fox exploited in X-Men Apocalypse this past summer. Fox does not control Captain Britain and would not be surprising to see him at least cameo in a future Captain America or Avengers flick. Maybe. Who knows? New Mutants. Marvel graphic novel #1, December of 1982, the first appearance. Their characters are Wolfbane, Magic, Cannonball, Mirage, Sunspot, and Warlock. Let's see. The New Mutants were a group of young new recruits chosen by Professor X after his X-Men had grown into adults and no longer needed his direct guidance. Yeah, I kind of remember that. I kind of remember reading some of the New Mutants way back when. Don't remember too much of them, but it would be interesting to see them introduced. This would be like 5-6 years down the line if the MCU stays around and manages to get back into the swing of things and get some superhero movies actually made that are decent. Of course, the biggest hurdles right now are to see what will happen with the Fantastic Four and what they do with the X-Men, if they do anything. Now, this will be easily 5 to 10 years down the road, I think. Of course, that's given the possibility if Disney still controls Marvel, still owns Marvel, still makes movies that people care about, or if they don't drop the ball completely and end up selling off the MCU to somebody who actually cares about it. Let's see. Guardian. Oh, okay. Uncanny X-Men #109 as Weapon Alpha. Okay, he was Alpha Flight. Okay, I remember this. Yeah, Tina the Naughty Dragon saying they did a New Mutants movie, but it was sort of a horror movie, but it got buried. Yes, it did. I kind of remember that. I remember when it came out and they tried making it look like a horror movie, and it got buried a bit and then released later on, and nobody really cared about it. It's one of those movies that I have yet to sit down and watch. I've heard mixed reviews about it. Some people saying it was kind of okay. Some people saying it was not very good. So it's probably middle of the road. But if I ever have like an extra hour and a half to kill, I'd probably sit down and give it a watch. That before Morbius or Madam Web. But yeah, I kind of remember that from way back when. Guardian, Weapon Alpha, scientist who developed his own version of an Iron Man suit. Hudson became Canada's premier superhero, and with the help of his nation's government, formed the superhero group Alpha Flight. Let's see. Like many heroes, however, he's died and been resurrected, because you can do that in comic books. During his death, his wife, Heather Hudson, wore a similar power suit and led the team as Vindicator. Okay, I never really read Alpha Flight. I don't know that much about him. Does beg the question, would it be easier to bring in individual characters or bring in teams of characters to kind of introduce the characters? I mean, which would be the best direction to go? That's kind of an interesting thought there. It's like you deal with the characters as standalone characters, or do you develop the teams first? Oh, Tina saying I would love to see Alpha Flight, but I don't think they'd do it. Yeah, yeah. This kind of goes back to something I've always thought, uh, or something I always stood by, is like my point of view on superhero franchises. I would honestly rather see superhero TV shows than uh, superhero blockbuster movies. Because when you think about it, you've got comic books that we all grew up reading comic books in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. That's at least 20, 30, 40 years of lore and canon. I'd rather see a series of TV shows digging into these characters and these superhero teams. Netflix has already shown it can be done with Daredevil, The Punisher, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, even Iron Fist. You can really explore the depths of the character, the storylines. You can't do that in a 2 hour movie or 3 or 4 2 hour movies. You kind of gloss over the depths of the character, their motivations, their history. You kind of hit the high notes, and that's about it. Now, I'd love to see these characters on small screen. I'd love to see like 5 seasons, 6 seasons of the X-Men, maybe 6 seasons of the Avengers, whatnot. That's just me, though. I mean, I think it would work so much better. We could introduce uh, the Avengers on the small screen, the X-Men, the Fantastic Four. Then you could get into New Mutants. You get into Alpha Flight. Then you could explore standalone characters. Let's see. Oh, another one here. They're showing X-23, a more recent character. NYX number 3, February of 2004. Okay, this is pretty recent. This is only 20 years ago. Real identity, Laura Kinney. X-23 was created by a top secret government program. Oh, like there's any other kind of government program. I mean, come on, they're all top secret. Attempting to clone Wolverine. I kind of remember this one. She came out in comic books. I don't actually own the comic books, but I read them in the comic book stores. Trained as a bloodthirsty assassin, X-23 eventually became a student at Xavier's Institute and became a member of X-Force. Oh, goodness, yet another team that you could introduce. X-Men, Excalibur, Alpha Flight, New Mutants, X-Force. That takes me back because I'm having flashbacks of like the early 90s. I walked into a comic book store, I want to say like 91, 92, just kind of breezed around, like window shopping. Go down one aisle, turned, looked at a wall, and it was like almost floor to ceiling bookshelves of nothing but X titles and X related characters. That's when I thought, gee, there is a glut of X-Men comic books at that time. At that time, it was like there was X this, X that, X the other thing, Wolverine, Cyclops. Think of an X-Men or X-Force, Excalibur character that might have had a solo comic book run, and that's about what I saw at that. That's a crazy flashback to think way back when. That was a crazy period of time, the early 90s. Like I said, X this, X that, X the other thing, Alpha Flight. X-Men titles all over the place. Let's see. Again, she was introduced in the Logan movie. This article, I keep forgetting this article is way back in 2016. So, in theory, X23's big screen and television rights are controlled by 20th Century Fox. She didn't actually debut in an X-Men title. Could Marvel Studios find a way to bring her into the MCU without referring to her as a mutant? Eventually, they're going to find a way of saying the M word in the MCU, mutant, and start introducing all these characters, all these X-Men related characters. Let's see, Brother Voodoo, character I'm just not familiar with. Strange Tales, number 169, September of 1973. Okay. And a few years ago, he took the title of Earth's Sorcerer Supreme for a short time when Doctor Strange felt he was no longer worthy of the mantle. Yeah, okay. I never really got into Doctor Strange in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Maybe. Again, small screen. A lot of these characters I'm thinking would be best on the small screen. Firestar. Spider-Man. Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, September 1991 TV series. Okay, anybody remember that? That's going back a ways. Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. Originally created for the memorable NBC animated series, Firestar eventually made her way into Marvel's comic book universe, where it was revealed her fire-based powers were mutant in origin. Over the years, she has been a member of the X-Men, the Avengers, and the New Warriors. Okay, I don't know about big screen MCU. I could see her character in small screen. North Star. Not that familiar with them. X-Men number 120, April of 1979. Going back a ways. Along with his twin sister, Jean Marie, was a founding member of the Guardians Alpha Flight. During his time on the Canadian superhero team, North Star became one of the first superheroes. Okay, yeah, I do remember that way back when. And became a long-standing member of the X-Men. Can fly, move at super speed, has limited invulnerability and superhuman strength, so on and so on. Okay, yeah. Assuming Quicksilver continues to age in the X-Men movie franchise, goes without saying that having a younger speedster join the team in the next 90s or whenever incarnation wouldn't be a terrible idea. Yeah. Either big screen or small screen. Some of these characters, a lot of these characters, I think would really be good on Disney TV if they're going to pursue Marvel on the small screen. Let's see, what's this next one? Quasar. Not too familiar with him. Captain America 217, January 1978. That's an interesting one. Yeah, it has powerful quantum bands and taking the name of Quasar. But Vaughn is the first that comes to mind for many Marvel fans. As a cosmic superhero and member of the Avengers, he serves as a bridge to spacefaring heroes such as the Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah. Okay, I could see him in a movie. You could introduce him in the big screen MCU. I mean, you've already introduced Guardians of the Galaxy. You could shoehorn him in. Kazar. Oh, gone way back. X-Men, Uncanny X-Men, number 10, March of 1965. With an obvious wink to Tarzan, Kazar, the son of an English nobleman who was raised by a talking, yes, talking, saber-toothed tiger in the Savage Land, a hidden valley of Antarctica that is the home to many mutated creatures and tribes. Yeah. Kazar has no superpowers of his own, and he protects this land using the skills he's learned while growing up in the strange corner of the planet. Okay, maybe. There'll be too many comparisons, too many people comparing him to Tarzan, of course. And maybe, I don't know, maybe not. Black Knight. The Avengers, number 47, December of 1967. I don't know. They had their chance with introducing Black Knight, but I don't think it'll happen. And that's the end of this article. Okay, this was not a bad article, in spite of the typing errors I was tripping over. There are some interesting characters in here that really could be used. Wonder Man, Quasar, Nova. There's some good ones in there that could be really adapted well to the small screen, I believe. All right. All right. I am shifting out of comic book characters now, and I am going on to, let's see, one of the, what is this? MovieWeb.com. A pretty recent article, August 5th of this year, 2024. Let me see if I can enlarge this. Here we go. Oh, yep, that's it. New Terminator series, time travel was inspired by Quantum Leap. So apparently there's going to be a new Terminator series. Okay, oh, comic book. Skynet isn't done yet. The monstrous AI will terrorize the time stream again in a new Terminator comic book. This time around, the genocidal robots have a surprising inspiration. During an interview with Dynamite Entertainment, writer Declan Shalvey spoke about his inspiration for his new comic book, The Terminator. Set across space and time, the story features a desperate Skynet sending various Terminators to kill the ancestors of the Resistance. In that vein, Shelby compared the tale to Quantum Leap, the 90s series starring Scott Bakula. Oh, maybe. I don't know. If he can pull it off in comic book form, that would be interesting. But Terminator is one of those franchises I think is just outlived its lifespan, almost like Aliens. I haven't seen the newest Aliens Romulus movie yet, but the last few Aliens movies have been stinkers. You look at some of these old franchises like Terminator, Aliens, Predator, they're starting to get a little long in the tooth. So anytime I stumble across something like this, I start thinking, okay, is this going to be a TV show or a movie or what? No, this is going to be a comic book series. We go over time travelers, Terminator's time travel rules. Terminator franchise is no stranger to time travel. No kidding. Barring Terminator Salvation, the entire franchise is built on the concept. And you can really get convoluted with time travel. You can get really messed up. You can get a contrived storyline, and you can end up damaging your franchise, much like you did with the last Terminator movie. But apparently, Dynamite Entertainment has the comic book rights to Terminator. I haven't really looked at them recently. It'll be interesting to see what they do with the franchise in comic book form. So I used to keep up with that way back when there was a Dark Horse, did a lot with Predator, Aliens, Terminator, well, not RoboCop here and there. All right. That was a quick article. Honestly, I didn't really want to go into this too much. Like I said, Terminator is one of those franchises that has lost steam completely. It is, I wouldn't say it's a dead franchise, but it's getting close. All right. Last article of the evening before I wrap it up. GiantFreakingRobot.com. This article, the best sci-fi animated movie that has nothing to do with Disney. Enlarge this. The animation dominance of Disney throughout the 90s went mostly unchallenged, except for one man, former Disney animator Don Bluth, the creative genius behind The Land Before Time and An American Tale. He continued taking the fight to his former employer when no one else would. As the article continues, and the process, he created the two best non-Disney animated movies of the pre-DreamWorks era, with the princess film Anastasia, and best of all, the epic sci-fi Titan AE. This is pretty cool because I do remember Titan AE. I remember enjoying it a lot. Let's see, pushed the boundaries of technology. Created with a combination of hand-drawn art and computer graphics, Titan AE looked like nothing else on the market when it was released in 2000. Wow. 24 years ago. We're getting very close to possibly seeing a 25th anniversary release of Titan AE. I'm kind of looking for. I just thought of that. Yeah, one more year. It'll be 2025. It'll be 25 years since Titan AE was released in the theaters. Let's see. And while that has done a lot for its reputation since, at the time it was considered off-putting. The CGI lacked the usual warmth of Don Bluth's animation style, and the silky smoothness of the hand-drawn characters looked out of place against the artificial backgrounds. Yeah, that is kind of unfortunate when you think about some of the risks taken with animation, I guess, during that time. But if we get an up-to-date re-release, that could be remastered, I believe. Let's see. Titan AE also pulled off a historic first by being the first digital movie release. Years before, Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, made industry waves with its digital release. Let's see. While Titan AE is a technical marvel, the plot of the film also tried to do something different from what Disney was putting out at the time and told a slightly more adult sci-fi story. Honestly, this is something we need more nowadays than ever before. We need people taking chances with telling more mature, more sophisticated storytelling. Think of any franchise out there now, whether on TV or in the theaters, and the storytelling is lacking. The writing is just not there for the most part. We need more people nowadays taking chances like that. And it's set after the Earth was destroyed, hence the AE title. Humanity's only hope is with Titan, a massive spacecraft capable of creating a new planet for humanity. Its location is a secret contained in the ring of Cal Tucker, Matt Damon, the son of the Titan Project lead researcher who struggles to make a life among the stars with the remnants of humanity. Search for the future. This was a fun movie. I do remember a lot about this. Can't say how many times I've watched this movie. Had a pretty good cast. I mean, looking over the cast here, it had a really good cast. The captain of the spaceship Valkyrie, Corso, Bill Pullman, also trying to locate the Titan, brings Cal on board alongside the rest of the crew, including the amphibian Goon, played by John Leguizamo. I know I butchered that name. It is late, been a long day, and I'm butchering names. So, oh well. Janine Garofalo, also on there. Nathan Lane. So, yeah, pretty good cast. Unfortunately, it was a massive box office bomb. I do remember this. So you missed out on catching Titan AE in theaters because it didn't last long on the big screen and brought in a disappointing box office of $36 million against a total cost of $100 million. The world wasn't ready for the anime-influenced stylings of Don Bluth's sci-fi vision. But today, it's become a bit of a sleeper cult classic. I appreciated it today, and now on streaming. Oh, this is good. Let's see if it. Is it actually on streaming? Let's see. As he goes on here, Titan AE wasn't appreciated in its time, but I find that especially after consuming hundreds of hours of sci-fi anime, the world wasn't ready. Though the plot is thin, it's more like a Saturday morning cartoon than it is Gundam. It's satisfying with some great visuals sparkled throughout, but again, that might be just me being a sucker for the style of Don B. If it was released on Netflix today for the first time, I think it would be a hit. Oh, okay. You can find Stars on, you can find Titan AE on Stars, and oh goodness, Video on demand through Apple TV. Okay, Giant Freaking Robot, Collider. You guys need proofreaders. I keep finding these little errors here and there, like supposed to be video on demand instead of video on demand, but oh well. Anyway, Titan AE, I remember that. An enjoyable film at the time. Quite enjoyed it. I actually have it in my sci-fi library, physical media. Great movie. Trying to think of just how many times I've watched this all the way through. More than twice, less than 10. I don't know. Might be time for a rewatch. Let's see. I've covered, spent a lot of time kind of covering comic book characters. This is kind of a makeup in a way for Comic Book Saturday. I didn't do a Comic Book Saturday this past Saturday, but I kind of made up for that covering these characters that the MCU probably will never use, which is equal parts unfortunate and fortunate. Especially when I have happy childhood memories of reading over and poring over old comic books of Rom Space Knight and other characters like that. It's like, no, I don't want to see the MCU take them and trash them like they have the current franchises. Let's see here. I am pushing not quite an hour and a half, but it is getting midnight my time, so I'm going to wrap it up here. I want to thank you all for joining me, whether live, lurking, or you catch it on a replay. Let me see who joined me in the chat. Tina, the first one out of the gate, joined me in the chat, followed by West Cagle. Very cool. Lemon Pie. Hello there, Lemon Pie. Good to see you. And then Dad Man Walking dropping by. Let's see, who am I? As I'm scrolling, making sure I don't miss anybody. There's some disco talk in the chat. Yes. Oh, yes. The disco era, yeah. And some comic book chat and the comic book talk in the chat. Always good to see everybody. Thank you all again for joining me. Let's see. I don't know what I'll be doing Wednesday night. I will think of a subject for Wednesday night. It might be a completely random live stream open discussion. I don't know. I've found that the less time I have to prepare for shows, it's harder and harder getting things. Oh, goodness, what is this? Feel free to think. DJ Ronnie G. Raid. Lol. Haha. Hello there. Feel free to think. I do believe this is the first time I've seen you in my chat. Very cool to see you here. And unfortunately, it is I'm about to wrap things up. I'm about to call it a night, but it's very cool to see you here. Yeah, DJ Ronnie G Raid. Oh, cool. First time here. Ronnie just shouted you out as he ended his stream. Oh, that's good. I appreciate that. That's very cool. Yeah, hope to see you in future live streams. Sleep well. Self-raid. Hello there, DJ Ronnie G. Good to see you here. Yeah, unfortunately, I'm about to wrap it up. I've been going on, blabbering on about almost an hour and a half. Yeah. Oh, but good to see you guys here. Good to see a raid from another channel. Very cool. Thank you all. I appreciate that. So I'm going to wrap things up before I lose steam completely. I sometimes I joke about weaponizing my insomnia, but there are times that I start losing steam, and before I lose steam and fall asleep at my keyboard, I will call it a night here. Thank you all. Thanks, man. Just taking care of the wind down task. Yeah. Oh yeah, you ran longer. Oh, that's cool. Yeah. Like I said, do stuff during the week. I may or may not be on Comic Relief Crusaders Tuesday show. A lot of chatter about him doing something during the day, and it may cut into his uh, time frame for his Tuesday show. But there's probably a really good chance I will be on Comic Relief Crusaders Friday show. That's usually a good time slot for me. Then Saturdays, I do a comic book related live stream where I talk about anything and everything comic book related. And since I didn't do one this past Saturday, I'm kind of making up for that by chatting about characters that may or may not make it into the MCU. So yeah, a lot of stuff going on during the week, and my scheduling during the week is always crazy. That's why I do these late live streams that really, as I'm losing my train of thought. Yeah, I had a thought there, but it just derailed. But anyway, yeah, lots of stuff going on during the week. I'm interested to hear your thoughts on Ripa Comics. Yeah, I am familiar. Being diplomatic before I end the night, I'm hoping he does well. There's some things that I've seen in the comic books that I'm not a fan of. But yeah, I wish the guy well. Sometimes it's hard for me to be critical of creators. People actually get out there and do something, but I need to see a lot of improvement in the books. There are other things in the company that I don't like, but I don't know if I will ever publicly discuss that. Sometimes I just hate to be critical, but I may not. Maybe a future live stream, maybe in the future. I don't know. I have one of the ISOM comic books. I've looked at some others. I've only purchased ISOM #1. But yeah, maybe in the future. You're saying you like the idea that it's based, but I don't see a resurgence of the real classic effort. Yeah, that may be a future live stream. That's good. Good to see you here. Very cool to see you here. First time seeing you in the chat, so that is awesome. Thank you very much. Thank you also, DJ Ronnie G. Very cool to see you here doing a self-raid. Oh, goodness. And with that, I'm going to end it here. Again, thank you all for joining me tonight. So I get my lot. Great to see you all here. Until next time, everyone, have a great week ahead.